Yerp, what's up, UFC fans? It's D Sky, Hardcore Casual MMA, coming in with a quick little recap and breakdown of UFC Shanghai. This was another fight night card. Took place 3 a.m. Eastern. The preliminary card started, and the main card started at 6 a.m. Eastern. So most of you were probably still in bed when these fights took place. But nonetheless, we're gonna get into a few of the fights, some of the more important fights on the card, and let's get to it. First fight we're gonna get to on the prelims is Michel Pereira versus Kyle Daukaus, which didn't last long at all. It was over with 43 seconds into the first round. Kyle Daukaus had been out for about 3 years and was making his return. Michel Pereira moved up from welterweight. He's sometimes an exciting, explosive fighter, but has been struggling lately. And anyways, in the first round, damn near the first exchange, um, Kyle Daukaus landed a right hook on the chin of Michel Pereira and dropped him. Michel Pereira was leaping in with a jab, missed his head completely. Kyle Daukaus caught him with the right hand, dropped him, followed him to the ground, and landed vicious elbows to finish the fight. And that's it for that one. Next fight. The next fight on the card was Charles Energy Johnson versus Loney Kavanagh. Kavanagh is a up and coming prospect, very young, but a great fighter, good all around, great striking, great kicks, good prospect to watch and keep a lookout for. Charles Johnson, on the other hand, is a little more seasoned. Has been in the UFC a couple years, but is now starting to gain momentum, get good wins under his belt. He's ranked, and he's coming along in the flyweight division. Also, very fast and quick and good striking. So, come out in the first round. Loney Kavanagh is putting it on Charles Johnson. He's landing heavy leg kicks. He's landing his combinations. Basically having his way with Charles Johnson, pressuring him, landing some heavy strikes. He rocked Charles Johnson in the first round. Um, leap. Think he caught him with a right hook and landed clean. And Charles Johnson had to get his wits about him. But he's tough, has a good chin. He was good, and Charles Johnson stayed in the fight and come out in the second round. And Kavanagh is still pressuring. He goes to his wrestling, gets a takedown, goes for a few submission attempts, good submission attempts, very tight, and uh, Charles Johnson powers through that. So they get up about 2 minutes left in the second round, and Kavanagh is gassed. You can visibly see his demeanor and the way he was fighting. He had gassed himself out and was tired. So Charles Johnson was starting to land more and find his strikes and do damage until finally Charles Johnson catches Kavanagh with about 43 seconds left with a right haymaker, caught him on the chin and knocks Loney Kavanagh out completely, and that was the fight. Great fight. Loney Kavanagh, hopefully he can, he's young, so he'll get it together, but be more conservative in his fights, not gas himself out and go too hard, or just, had the ability to open up his cardio and be able to pressure that much throughout the entirety of the fight without his defense suffering. Charles Johnson always in the fight, great resilience, and came out with the win. Hopefully, Charles Johnson will get a higher ranked opponent his next fight. I felt like he should have had a ranked opponent this fight so he could work his way up the rankings and work towards getting a title shot. He's been looking good lately, and that's that fight. Next fight we have is Brian Ortega versus Aldermian the Funk Master Sterling. It was a pretty boring fight to say the least. Which sometimes we come to expect from Aljo. He's mostly wrestling heavy, and since this fight took place on the feet for the most part, um, that's what we got. Ortega's not great on the feet. Thought that Aljo would use his grappling a lot more, but being that Ortega is just so terrible on the feet, Aljo was able to win being on his feet for the most part, not face many threats throughout the fight. Do what he wanted on the feet and get the win. So that's pretty much it for that fight. Aljo is working his way to trying to get a title fight in the featherweight division. I'm curious to see who they'll give him next. And it looks like Ortega is about to be a gatekeeper and on his way to fighting fighting up and coming fighters and prospects. He also missed weight this fight, which doesn't look good. He's been having, issues making weight as of late. He may have to jump up the lightweight or something, but I don't know. But that's it for that fight. Next fight on the card, main card I'm gonna cover is Sergei Pavlovich versus Waldo Acosta Cortes. Pavlovich has been in the UFC for a few years. Great, powerful fighter. He went on a 6 KO streak here recently in the UFC and was getting TKOs and running through people within the first round of every one of those fights. Only until he faced Tom Aspinall and got TKO in the first round of that fight has he slowed down. The loss against Aspinall has made Pavlovich a lot more conservative of a fighter and a lot more of a counter striker, and he doesn't press as much as he used to, which is a good thing and kind of a bad thing for the fans, But you have to be that way once you start facing better, higher level opponents in the UFC most of the time. Waldo Acosta Cortez has been here for a few years. Um, came has recently been on a gaining some momentum, got some good wins against Jorginho Rosenstruck and a few other heavyweights. He's pretty athletic. I think he used to play professional baseball. Pretty athletic. Good on the feet. Good basic striking, but doesn't keep it tight sometimes. So Pavlovich and Cortez it went to decision. Unfortunately, I just knew that this fight was going to end in a TKO, but surprisingly, it went to a decision. Pavlovich just worked off of his jab for the most part and worked counter off Cortez. Cortez could not find the heavy shots because I feel like he telegraphs his bigger strikes too much. He's good with his jab and his cross and some of his leg kicks, but when he goes to throw those heavy shots, he just doesn't set it up good enough. And Pavlovich was able to see that, boxed his way basically to a decision win. And hopefully uh Pavlovich, starts to take more risk a little bit more and, goes for those KOs in the future. Um Acosta Cortez, he has a lot of time left, and I feel like he'll be a good contender in a few years if he keeps working on his game. But that's it for that fight. And the main event on the card, Johnny Walker versus Zhang Mingyang. Which a lot of people predicted that John Mingyang would probably TKO Johnny Walker in this fight, and exactly the opposite happened. Johnny Walker came out early and battered Zhang Mingyang's legs. He landed about 13 leg kicks, and that's all it took. So um by the second round, Zhang Mingyang was not able to put out enough offense, to stop Johnny Walker, and his leg just could not take no more after the final leg kick. I don't think Mingyang could even walk, and Johnny Walker got on top of him and ground and pound, and punches to the finish and knock out Zhang Mingyang, which is surprising. Johnny Walker, um, he's a great fighter, very athletic. He once was a big, huge prospect, but every time he got those fights for title contention or those big fights, he failed. And I don't know. His defense isn't that great, but he has all the tangibles to be a good fighter, But hopefully, Johnny Walker puts it together and goes on the title run. I would love to see that. Zhang Mingyang, on the other hand, still young in the UFC, has plenty of time to develop, and he'll probably be up in the rankings in the next few years, and after he works on his game, may be in title contention itself. But that's all for UFC Shanghai. Thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe. Peace.